Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaitram Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dejye Nashtuprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 20, Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, text number 52.
जी
Tapsa vidyaya yukto yogin susamadhina rishin rishir rishikesha sasarja bhimata praja. Having equipped himself with austere penance, adoration, mental concentration, and absorption in devotion, accompanied by dispassion, and having controlled his senses, Brahma, the self-born living creature, evolved great sages as his beloved sons. So first he got rid of all the mentality or consciousness of ignorance, passion, goodness even, and the yawning by which the ghosts and hobgoblins took took the body, and now he's with austere penance, adoration, mental concentration, and absorption and devotion, controlled senses. Now he's evolving great sages as his beloved sons. The ritualistic performances of sacrifice are meant for material economic development. In other words, they are meant to keep the body in good condition for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. But for actual attainment of spiritual knowledge, other qualifications are needed. What is essential is vidya, or worship of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the word yoga is used to refer to the gymnastic performances or different bodily postures, which help mental concentration. Generally, the different bodily postures in the yoga system are accepted by less intelligent men to be the end of yoga, but actually they are meant to concentrate the mind upon the supersoul. After creating persons for economic development, Brahma created sages who would set the example for spiritual realization. So now he created the sages for spiritual realization. And yoga asans, which is one part of that eight Ashtanga yoga, is one anga of that, which Prabhupada is saying it's gymnastic performances of different bodily postures. But the ultimate aim is not just to keep the body healthy. Ultimate aim is one should be able to concentrate or meditate on the super soul. But people generally, they don't go for the last procedure. They just want to keep the body healthy so they can enjoy nicely. At least some beginning is there. That's all we can say. तेभ्यश्च कैकशाश्वस्य देहस्यांश मदादजः यत्तत्समाधियोगर्धे तपो विद्या विरक्तिमत्. To each one of these sons, the unborn creator of the universe gave a part of his own body, which was characterized by deep meditation, mental concentration, supernatural power, austerity, adoration, and renunciation. The word viraktimat in this verse means possessed of the qualifications of renunciation. Spiritual realization cannot be attained by materialistic persons. For those who are too addicted to sense enjoyment, spiritual realization is not possible. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that those who are too attached to seeking material possessions and material enjoyment cannot reach yoga samadhi, absorption in Krishna consciousness. Propaganda that one can enjoy this life materially and at the same time spiritually advance is simply bogus. The principles of renunciation are four: to avoid illicit sex life, to avoid meat eating, to avoid intoxication, and to avoid gambling. These four principles are called tapasya or austerity. To absorb the mind in the supreme in Krishna consciousness is a process of spiritual realization. Hmm. So those who are too attached or addicted to sense enjoyment, spiritual realization is not possible. Spiritual realization cannot be attained by materialistic persons. So, so it doesn't mean one who's not materialistic or um, or one who's not materially successful, he's going to be spiritually realized. That doesn't mean that. It just one doesn't need to be attached or addicted to sense enjoyment. Having material possessions is not wrong. Addiction to that is wrong. In the wrong in the sense, then one cannot have the attachment for Krishna. Having material possessions, even Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was the king of the whole world, emperor of the whole world. And as soon as he heard that Krishna has left for the spiritual world, at once he just gave up the kingdom. And not just him, all his brothers and Draupadi Maharani herself. They all gave up the kingdom and left for Himalayas. So having material possessions is not wrong. It's just attachment. At people who are too attached to seeking material possessions and material enjoyment cannot reach yoga samadhi or absorption in Krishna consciousness, because that that will be because to absorb in yoga samadhi or Krishna consciousness, one needs to be attached to Krishna, and that attachment comes when obviously when one gives up the lower taste, only then one can attain the higher taste. Or once a higher taste is there, lower taste goes away. It is gonna happen. It's not that the devotees are lazy. They just don't have any attachment for any material possessions, or they don't want to take up some make extra effort to um, to make material progress, too much material progress. Because this is what Rupa Goswami also says in Nectar of Instruction. Uh, too much too much work to make material advancement is not good for bhakti. It will reduce one's um, progress on the path of bhakti. So whatever work is needed to be done, yes, one should do. And whatever one can gain materially on its own accord means not working 16, 18 hours a day. 8 hours, 9 hours is good enough. And then the rest of the time one should be engaging in the service of Krishna, chanting, reading, preaching, or other services. Because ultimately that is the goal of life, to be Krishna conscious. Not the goal of life is to become multi millionaire. In the end, we're going to leave it anyway. And in fact, if we have too much of material possessions, we'll have too many enemies as well at the same time. There'll be too many people after those possessions. That's why Kunti Maharani's prayers, she says, Krishna, you are akinchan gochara. Means you are easily obtainable by people who are materially impoverished. Because they are not attached to anything. And they're not worried about that I need to protect that and I need to protect that. And not at all. So many stories are there in Mahaprabhu's Leela, especially of Kholavich or Sridhar. Maybe some other time we can discuss that. Um, so, so materially rich or materially attached person, it's very difficult for him to make progress. In fact, in Bible also it is said that it's easier for an elephant to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. It's so difficult because he is too attached. He gets too attached. But there are devotees, uh, past and present also, who've been materially very rich but fully devoted to the service of Krishna. No doubt. But number of those devotees are very few. There are not too many of those. So there ends the 20th chapter. So we'll start the 21st chapter, Canto 3. Conversation between Manu and Kardam Muni. Text 1. विदुरुवाच स्वयंभुवस्य च मनोर्वशः परं सम्मतः कथ्यतां भगवन् यत्र मैथुने नेधिरे praja. Vidura said, the line of Swayambhuva Manu was most esteemed. O worshipful sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race, whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse. Regulated sex life to generate good population is worth accepting. Actually, Vidura was not interested in hearing the history of persons who were merely engaged in sex life, but he was interested in the progeny of Swayambhuva Manu, because in that dynasty, good devotee kings appeared who protected their subjects very carefully with spiritual knowledge. By hearing the history of their activities, therefore, one becomes more enlightened. An important word used in this connection is param sammataha, which indicates that the progeny created by Swayambhuva Manu and his sons was approved of by great authorities. In other words, sex life for creating exemplary population is acceptable to all sages and authorities of Vedic scriptures. So Vidurji wanted to know more about Swayambhuva Manu's progeny, the lineage. Why? Because Bhagavatam, as it is said other place, Bhagavatam is not only about Krishna, it's about Krishna's devotees also. And in the line of Swayambhuva Manu, many wonderful devotees appeared. So Vidurji wanted to know about them also. And sex life, as Prabhupada says, sex life for creating exemplary population is acceptable to all sages and authorities. So the activity is not wrong. It's the consciousness with which it is performed that makes a difference. And we'll see how Swayambhuva Manu is incarnation of God himself, is Manvantar Avatar. And his daughter, beautiful daughter, Mother Devahuti, very nicely raised by Swayambhuva Manu. He's in charge of the whole human population. But he knew the value of self-realization and he married her to Kardam Muni. Kardam Muni, who was just living in a just simple hut in the forest and would always be engaged in tapasya. But Swayambhuva Manu understood this is the right person for my daughter. And Mother Devahuti will see how many austerities she performed while serving her husband. So the point is not just because she was daughter of such a big man, such a rich man, opulence was like their birthright. And he would have thought of, no, let me marry her to an opulent person, to a king, so that she can live very comfortably. Oh no, he understood self-realization is the goal of life, and there cannot be a person better than Kardamuni for her. प्रियवृत्तो तानपादौ सुतो स्वयंभुवस्य वै यथा धर्मं जुगुपतुः सप्तद्वीपवतीं महीम्. The two great sons of Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavrat and Uttanpad, ruled the world, consisting of 7 islands, just according to religious principles. Now we will read how the story will unfold. Uttanpad, so Uttanpad's son was Dhruv Maharaj. So we'll read about Dhruv Maharaj in detail, and Uttanpad, and Priyavrat also, and Swayambhuva Manu's daughter, Devhuti, and Devhuti to Lord Kapil Dev. So all this one family, so many stories will go on. Srimad Bhagavatam is also a history of the great rulers of different parts of the universe. In this verse, the names of Priyavrat and Uttanpad, sons of Swayambhuva, are mentioned. They ruled this earth, which is divided into 7 islands. These 7 islands are still current, or continents, which we call Asia, Europe, Africa, America, Australia, and North and South Poles. There is no chronological history of all the Indian kings in Srimad Bhagavatam, but the deeds of the most important kings, such as Priyavrat and Uttanpad, and many others like Lord Ramchandra and Maharaj Yudhishthir, are recorded because the activities of such pious kings are worth hearing. People may benefit by studying their histories. So that's why few of the kings are mentioned, and they are the wonderful devotees. That's why they're mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have to appreciate the timeline. Swayambhuva Manu was the first Manu in the day of Brahma. Right now we are in the time period of 7th Manu, which is named Vavasvat, and his 28th Kali Yuga. So every Manu rules for 71 Chatur Yugas. So right now, the rule of Vavasvat Manu, who's 7th Manu, and his 28th Kali Yuga, because 28th Dwapar Yuga, towards the end of 28th Dwapar Yuga is when Krishna appears. 7th Manu, 28th Dwapar Yuga. So this Kali Yuga is right following that Dwapar Yuga. So we are in 28th Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga, one Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years. Dwapar Yuga is twice that. Treta Yuga is thrice the duration of Kali Yuga, and Satyuga is 4th the duration of Kali Yuga. And in this Kali Yuga, only about 5,000 years have passed. So still 4,27,000 more years to go in this Kali Yuga before Kalki Avatar comes, and he's basically going to kill everybody, and all the sages who would be living in the hills, in the forest, they would come down and they would start Satyuga. But by the point I'm making all this is, so a huge history of Vedic knowledge and Vedic culture. There is no end to it actually. It's unlimited. And then some people following some faith which was started 13, 14, 1500 years ago, and they said there was nothing before our faith. That is Kupamanduk. That's the frog of the well. Because they haven't seen anything besides their well, so they don't know. There are so many oceans besides this well. And huge, huge oceans. So this is the ignorance of people. Complete ignorance. Look at the stories here. Nobody even so-called followers of Vedic texts of Sanatan Dharma, even they won't know the stories of Swayambhuva Manu and Priyavrat Maharaj and Maharaj Uttanpad and Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. They might know a little bitty, maybe they heard here or there, but won't know the details. And that is why we don't appreciate the literature, Vedic literature, because we don't know the details. If one knows, if one gets this knowledge, he will not go and follow anything else. He will not. Anybody, I'm not saying those born in the Hindu family or something like that. No, anybody, he will not follow anything else. Because this Vedic knowledge contains everything. Everything that we want to know. Detail, so much of detail of Krishna, Krishna's activities, Krishna's dham, Krishna's rupa, Krishna's nam. So many details are given about the Lord. No other scripture will even come close. They don't even have 0.0001% of the information that are given in the Vedic texts. But unfortunately, people think the Vedic texts are all mythology. Text 3. Tasya ve duhita brahman devhuti ti vishvata patni prajapater rupta kardamasya tvayanakha. O holy Brahman, O sinless one, you have spoken of his daughter, known by the name Devahuti, as a wife of the sage Kardam, the lord of created beings. Here we are speaking of Swayambhuva Manu, but in Bhagavad Gita we hear about Vavasvat Manu. The present age belongs to the Vavasvat Manu. Swayambhuva Manu was previously ruling, and his history begins from the Varaha age, or the millennium when the Lord appeared as a boar. There are 14 Manus in one day of the life of Brahma, and in the life of each Manu, there are particular incidents. The Vavasvat Manu of Bhagavad Gita is different from Swayambhuva Manu. And the list will also appear, I don't know where in Bhagavatam it appears. So first was Swayambhuva Manu, then next. All the list is also given. It's not like, okay, 14 Manus, what were the names, what are the activities, nobody knows. No, everything is mentioned. Tasyam savai mahayogi yuktayam yog lakshana sasarja katida viryam tanme shushrushve vada. How many offsprings did that great yogi beget through the princess, who was endowed with eightfold perfection in yoga principles? Oh, pray tell me this, for I am eager to hear it. So Vidurji, he has gone through all the tirthas. He had listened to Uddhav speaking about Krishna's pastimes. Now he is still so eager to hear, and he is sitting with Maitreya Muni, and he has already asked so many questions, and he is still asking more and more questions. He wants to hear more and more. That is a quality of a disciple or an audience who really is interested in hearing. Here Vidura inquired about Kardamuni and his wife Devahuti and about their children. It is described here that Devahuti was very much advanced in the performance of eightfold yoga. The 8 divisions of yoga performance are described as control of the senses, that is yam, then strict following of the rules and regulations, niyam, practice of different sitting posture, asan, yam, niyam, asan, control of the breath, pranayam, withdrawing the senses from sense objects, pratyahar, concentration of the mind, dharan, meditation, dhyan, and 8 self-realization, which is samadhi. After self-realization, there are 8 further perfectional stages, which are called Yog Siddhis. So those Yog Siddhis, Anima, Laghima, Prapti, Prakamya, and 4 more. They are described in some other places. In fact, when we go to, I think, 11th canto, there are more Yog Siddhis. 8 are major, and then there are subtle ones also, smaller ones also. And they're mentioned in detail over there. The husband and wife, Kardam and Devhuti, were advanced in yoga practice. The husband was a Mahayogi, great mystic, and the wife was a Yoga Lakshan, or one advanced in yoga. They united and produced children. Formerly, after making their lives perfect, great sages and saintly persons used to beget children. Otherwise, they strictly observed the rules and regulations of celibacy. So, why after making their lives perfect? Because then they would have the right soul entering the semen of the father and then the womb of the mother. Not just they wanted to have unrestricted sex life and produce children like cats and dogs. That wasn't the process. Brahmacharya, following the rules and regulations of celibacy, is required for perfection of self-realization and mystic power. There is no recommendation in the Vedic scriptures that one can go on enjoying material sense gratification at one's whims as one likes and at the same time become a great meditator by paying a rascal some money. So obviously Prabhupada is referring to the so-called yogic teachers or yoga teachers who say, oh, you just do at home, you do whatever you want to, come here, do some yoga for half an hour and you will become self-realized. Not going to happen. Look at Kardam Muni and Devhuti. Kardam Muni is a Mahayogi and Devhuti is Yoga Lakshan, or one advanced in yoga. And once they were perfect in their yogic system, then they had the children. And look at the child they had was Lord himself, Lord Kapil Dev. So we should not take this lightly and make it very cheap, the yoga system. And look at the words Prabhupada use. Again, some people have objection, they raise objection to this. And Prabhupada says, at the same time, become a great meditator by paying a rascal some money. Prabhupada had poetic license to say these things. But here the term rascal is used because he was not doing, or he was not giving the right knowledge about the yoga system. Although he was known as a big yoga guru, but he is still not giving the right knowledge. That what after yogasans, then what? Ruchiryo Bhagwan Brahman Dakshuva Brahmana Sutta Yatha Sasarja Bhutani Labdva Bharyam Chamanavim. O holy sage, tell me how the worshipful Ruchi and Daksha, the son of Brahma, generated children after securing as a wife the other 2 daughters of Swayambhuva Manu. All the great personalities who increase the population in the beginning of creation are called Prajapatis. Brahma is also known as Prajapati, as were some of his later sons. Swayambhuva Manu is also known as Prajapati, as is Daksha, another son of Brahma. Swayambhuva had 2 daughters, Akuti and Prasuti. The Prajapati Ruchi married Akuti and Daksha married Prasuti. These couples and their children produced immense number of children to populate the entire universe. Vidura's inquiry was, how did they beget the population in the beginning? So look at Swayambhuva Manu had two daughters, or three daughters actually, Akuti, Prasuti, and Devhuti. I don't know if yeah, I think only three daughters. So Devhuti was married to Kartam Muni. So this story will go on. Then Akuti was married to Prajapati Ruchi. There'll be a story about that. And Daksha married Prasuti. And Daksha had a daughter, Sati. And Sati was married to Lord Shiva. So again, lots of stories of the same family. Basically, it's in the same family. Text number 6. Maitreya Vacha प्रजासृजेति भगवान् कर्दमो ब्रह्मणोदितः सरस्वत्यां तपस्तेपे सहस्राणां समादश. The great sage Maitreya replied, commanded by Lord Brahma to beget children in the world, the worshipful Kardam Muni practiced penance on the bank of the river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years. It is understood herein that Kardam Muni meditated in yoga for 10,000 years before attaining perfection. So that definitely that time was of Satyuga. Similarly, we have information that Valmiki Muni also practiced yoga meditation for 60,000 years before attaining perfection. And therefore, yoga practice can be successfully performed by persons who have a very long duration of life, such as 100,000 years. In that way, it is possible to have perfection in yoga. Otherwise, there is no possibility of attaining the real perfection. Not that we hardly live for 100 years, and out of that, we just do some yoga for maybe 6 months, half an hour each day, and we think we can become perfect. Not going to happen. Following the regulations, controlling the senses, and practicing the different yoga sitting postures are merely the preliminary practices. We do not know how people can be captivated by the bogus yoga system in which it is stated that simply by meditating 15 minutes daily, one can attain the perfection of becoming one with God. Wow. Simply by meditating 15 minutes daily. And even that meditation is not proper. If you go to some yoga studio, like in India, one Maharaj was telling that he went with his god brothers to a yoga studio. Yoga studio was very popular in the city. So he went there, and as soon as they entered, everything was pitch dark in the room, completely dark, no light at all. And they were like, oh, this must be really good. Let's see, let's sit down. Somehow they found a place where they were going to sit down without bumping into anybody else. And then they sat down, him and his devotee friends. And after a while, when they settled down, so idea was nobody would speak anything and everybody should meditate. When they settled down in the room, all they could hear was snoring. People were really sleeping in the name of meditation. And why people love meditation? Because even if you don't sleep, if you sleep while doing meditation, obviously you will feel better afterwards when you get up and the meditation session is over and your money is gone. But even if one doesn't sleep, if you just sit down in a quiet, dark place and just try to pretend to meditate, of course, you're not meditating that time. You are only thinking of your house or maybe business or your friends or children or whatever. But after a while, when you just make your mind peaceful, because otherwise it's not possible to make the mind peaceful. throughout the day. And you come out after 10, 15 minutes, you'll definitely feel good. And then that's what people are very crazy about. Oh, I felt very nice. What did you meditate on? Oh, no, nothing. I couldn't meditate. I was just sitting there quietly. So that's not even meditation. It's just a money making business by all these Babajis. This age, Kali Yuga, is the age of bluffing and quarrel. Actually, there is no possibility of attaining yoga perfection by such paltry proposals. In the Vedic literature for emphasis clearly states three times that in this age of Kali, Kalo Nastev, Nastev, Nastev Gatiranyatha. There is no other alternative, no other alternative, no other alternative than Hare Nam, chanting the holy name of the Lord. But people think chanting of the holy name is so easy. It's basically you just chant. And then Mahaprabhu said, Niyamita Smarane Kala. There is no rules and regulations for chanting. Chant anytime, chant the whole day, no problem at all. It's always good. So people think chanting is so simple. So and what is this? You can chant anytime. You cannot meditate anytime, but you can chant anytime, and you think you're making progress. So that is also one of their um, issues with them, that they don't believe because the process is so simple that it would be effective. But because by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this process of chanting of the holy names, which is a Yug Dharma mentioned in the scripture, but it became more potent and more effective because Mahaprabhu gave it himself. Mahaprabhu followed it, his followers followed it, and they gave it to everybody to follow. Just like today, here today, I think in India it's today in 1st of February, appearance day of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya, is incarnation of Lord Mahavishnu himself, and combined of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. And when he appeared in Navadvip, and he appeared many years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. Maybe some place it is like 50 years before Mahaprabhu did. So he saw the situation of Navadvip. There were hardly any Vaishnavas, very few, limited number of devotees, and nobody was even interested in knowing about devotional service, being a Vaishnava. They were not at all. In Navadvip. Navadvip was considered a high seat of knowledge at that time. There were many great scholars, but they were all absorbed in the gyan process, not the bhakti process. And people had lots of money in Navadvip. Navadvip was very rich area, and people who were doing this process of gyan, who were following gyan, they were good, but those who were not, they were not doing bhakti, but they would be doing demigod worship. They were more interested in that, and they would be doing big programs for Kali Puja, Chandi Puja, and they were getting their kids married off in very lavish weddings. And it is mentioned those who didn't have kids, they were getting the cats and dogs married very lavishly. So this was the situation of Navadvip. So Advaita Acharya was very much disturbed seeing the situation. So he decided, somewhere in the scripture he read, if you worship Shaligram Shila with Ganges water and with Tulsi leaves, and then whatever you ask for, the desire is fulfilled. So behind me in the backdrop, that is the Shaligram Shila that Advaita Acharya worshipped. Somebody posted this picture today, and so I got it for everybody. So he worshipped. He lived in Shantipur, which is his house was right on the banks of Ganges, and he worshipped Shaligram Shila every day. And Haridas Thakur also used to live nearby in the cave. And by Advaita Acharya's calling, loud calling, and of course it was time for Mahaprabhu to appear. It was a scheduled time. So Mahaprabhu appeared on the full moon day, which we now known as Gaur Purnima, and he also admitted that by it was the loud calls of Advaita Acharya that made him appear. And when Mahaprabhu appeared that day, there was a lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse always happens on full moon day. And at that time, the tradition was when there is a lunar eclipse, one should go and bathe in the rivers, holy rivers. So Navdev, because Ganges was flowing in that, people were bathing in the holy river Ganges. Not that you put on glasses and try to see the lunar eclipse or the solar eclipse. That wasn't the trend. So people were out there in the Ganges and they were bathing and everybody was chanting the holy names of the Lord and they were saying Hari Bol to everybody because the time was of lunar eclipse. It is mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat that even Muslims who were living, they were making fun of Hindus, and they were even while making fun of Hindus, they were saying Hari Bol, Hari Bol. See how these Hindus are saying Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So this problem of Hindu Muslims has been going on since the beginning, but since the time Mughals entered India. So anyway, not going into politics. So Mahaprabhu appeared, and Advaita Acharya was there in Shantipur, not too far from Navdeep. So many pastimes. But when Mahaprabhu was a little boy, Nimai, he had an elder brother, Vishwarup. So Advaita Acharya also had a house in Navdeep. So if we have been to Mayapur, great. You must have seen. If not, then maybe Ashok Prabhu and Radha Prabhu, they can organize a trip. So that place is not far from Advaita Acharya's house, is not far from the place Yogapeeth where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had appeared. It's in the same road. It's a walking distance. So Advaita Acharya used to have meetings of Vaishnavas in which Shivas Thakur, his brothers, Vishwarup, and few Vaishnavas who were there, they would assemble, they would do kirtan, they would do Krishna Katha. So Shachi Mata, Mahaprabhu's mother, one day she sent Nimai to go and call your brother, come home and have lunch. So Nimai went to that assembly of Advaita Acharya and other Vaishnavas to call his brother. And Nimai was so little at that time. He was only covered by the directions. Means he was not wearing any clothes. But he was so sweet, so beautiful. When he went in the assembly and he went to Vishwarup and said, Dada, I is calling you, let's go home and have lunch. And as soon as Nimai entered that assembly, everybody just kept quiet and they were just looking at Nimai, that who is this boy? So beautiful. And after Nimai left with Vishwarup, Advaita Acharya said, it looks like Krishna himself came when we saw this boy. We got the same feelings as if we were looking at the Supreme Lord. So Nimai was From very childhood, he was attracting everybody. And after he grew up and then did his pastime as Nimai Pandit, then he met his guru Ishwar Puri and then went to Gaya. And from Gaya, he came back, he got initiation by Ishwar Puri. And when he came back completely changed. And then he started the Sankirtan movement. He started the Kirtan at the house of Shivas Thakur. Even that house is not far on that road, not far from Yogapitha and not far from Advaita Acharya's house either. It's in the middle. So they would do Kirtan over there, and then for 2 years, Mahaprabhu said one day actually they would used to do Kirtan in the daytime and then go to their houses in the evening. And one day Mahaprabhu said, why do we waste time by sleeping? We should have Kirtan whole night. So for 2 years, they had whole night Kirtans at the house of Shivas Thakur. And so many devotees like Advaita Acharya, Nityanand Prabhu also joined later. And so many devotees would take part. But obviously the doors were closed for people who were not devotees because Mahaprabhu did not want anybody to come in and disturb his mode of kirtan. Of course, Mahaprabhu's instruction being that anybody and everybody can chant, so we follow that mode of Prabhupada that anybody can join. But Mahaprabhu, when he was uh, participating on those kirtan at the house of Shivas Thakur, actually the house of Shivas Thakur is considered non-different from Ras Leela Sthali, a place where Ras Leela happens. And this kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his associates is considered equal to Ras Leela of Krishna with the gopis. Exactly equal. So that is why Mahaprabhu did not want or he could not allow people who are not qualified to enter that Sankirtan. But here, when we perform Sankirtan and when we take out Harinam processions, then anybody can hear and anybody can chant, anybody can join. But the idea here is to purify everybody. Even the Kirtan leader is getting purified. So this is the mission of Mahaprabhu, and that was the mood of Mahaprabhu. Those are two different things. But anyway, wonderful pastimes with Advaita Acharya of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, after sannyas, he had a desire to go to Vrindavan. So Nityanand Prabhu was aware of that. So he walked in front of Mahaprabhu, a few kilometers ahead. And he saw some boys on the way. And Nityanand Prabhu said, okay, you boys, you come here. And the sannyasi is coming, tall sannyasi and chanting and dancing. He's not even aware of what is going on. And when he asks for which way to Vrindavan, just point him to the other direction. And when he asks for which way to go to Yamuna, point him to go to Ganga. And then I'll take care of everything. So Nityanand Prabhu made this arrangement, left, and Mahaprabhu, when he was going, he saw these boys, and the boy said, oh, Ganga is on this side, oh, Yamuna, it's on this side. And Mahaprabhu, without understanding where he was going, he was chanting and dancing in full ecstasy. He reached Ganga, and he took bath in the Ganga, Ganges, thinking it to be Yamuna. But then Advaita Acharya appeared on the boat, and Mahaprabhu said, Advaita, how come you're here in Vrindavan? Who told you I'll be in Vrindavan? And how come you're on the boat and this and that? Advaita Acharya said, actually, you're not in Vrindavan. You're in Navdvip, and this is not Yamuna, this is Ganga. So Mahaprabhu said, oh, this must be Nityanand Prabhu's doing because nobody else can cheat me like this. But Advaita Acharya said, actually, he didn't cheat you. Wherever you are uh, present, And wherever you're chanting, that place is not different from Vrindavan. And also this river that you took bath in, and on this western bank of this river, because Ganga and Yamuna meets in at Prayag, and then they flow together. Although it is known as Ganga because Yamuna loses her identity in Ganges. But in Navdvip, when she enters, so the western bank is considered Yamuna, and eastern bank is considered Ganga. So Advaita Acharya said, you took bath on the western bank, so it is Yamuna actually. So anyway, Advaita Acharya took Mahaprabhu to his house in Shantipur, asked him to change his clothes, and then Shachi Mata was also invited there. So for 10 days, Mahaprabhu stayed there, and Shachi Mata fulfilled her desire to cook for Mahaprabhu because as a sannyasi, Mahaprabhu could not go home. So he stayed at the house of Advaita Acharya at Shantipur. It's a huge place, huge house. And then Mahaprabhu left for Jagannath Puri. Even in Jagannath Puri, although Advaita Acharya did not go with him, but he would visit every year with the devotees from Navadip for Rath Yatra. And then they would stay there for 4 months of Chaturmas. So Advaita Acharya, even at Jagannath Puri, I'll just end this with this pastime, beautiful pastime. So at Jagannath Puri, Advaita Acharya and his wife Sita Thakurani would stay there. They also had a house in Jagannath Puri, which was not far from Gambhira, where Mahaprabhu was staying. So in Jagannath Puri, all the Brahmins used to invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. So Advaita Acharya also invited him one day. And Mahaprabhu, wherever he would go for lunch, he had so many associates as sannyasis, Parvanand Puri, Brahmanand Bharti, and so many others. They would accompany Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. But Mahaprabhu, when he was going to go to Advaita Acharya's house for lunch, Advaita Acharya, he thought it's not good that Mahaprabhu comes with so many associates. So I want to have personal time with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I want to serve him. So he said, he basically prayed inside his heart that there's some arrangement so that all these sannyasis, they don't come today. So it so happened that day, Mahaprabhu was getting ready to go to the house of Advaita Acharya. So in Jagannath Puri, there were clouds, black clouds, all of a sudden. And there were torrents of rain. It was raining cats and dogs. Except in the whole Jagannath Puri, except on the road from Gambhira to the house of Advaita Acharya. Only that road was dry. All around, it was raining cats and dogs. So none of the sannyasis could get out of their ashrams and accompany Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu alone went to the house of Advaita Acharya, where Advaita Acharya fed him to his heart's content. So Mahaprabhu asked him, what happened to all these sannyasis? How come nobody came? And Advaita Acharya, oh, it rained quite a bit. Maybe maybe Indra or Jagannath ji didn't want them to come. Mahaprabhu laughed. It was you who didn't want them to come. But that is Advaita Acharya, and he is Mahavishnu, and combination of Mahavishnu and Sadashiv. Even he wants to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna. So we should understand the position of Krishna. Many times people say, oh, Krishna is incarnation of Vishnu. Here, Mahavishnu himself wants to serve Krishna. But there are so many of other pastimes. You all can read, and maybe some other time we can discuss some other pastime. We'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
full bath time. So thank you very much. Today the day is made.
Thank you.
Yeah, Advaita Acharya bless is always attentive, focused, chanting today.
Yeah. See, now all the associates of Mahaprabhu will start appearing, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will appear on Gaur Purnima. Like next week is Nityanand Triyodashi, and then Srivas Thakur also appears somewhere in between.
So it's all mercy time. Mercy is going to flow now.
Yep.
It was continuing. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
being
brother. So you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy Advaita Acharya's appearance day. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Srila
Thank
Prabhupada.
you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada.
Krishna